That's right. This is a storm you do not want to ignore. From the southern plains all the way to the southeast, we're talking about big hail, damaging winds, and the potential for some strong tornadoes. In this forecast, we're going to be giving you the latest details. Here we go. Hey, starting off, looking at the United States, you can definitely see that there is some rain still sticking around for the West Coast. Also, a little bit of snow and rain happening over here in Utah, Colorado, Arizona. A little bit of snow starting off in South Dakota. Some annoying rain and cooler air hanging around in the northern parts of the southeast, and a little bit of rain and storms starting to pick up across the Ohio Valley. I am expecting some more storms to fire back here and potentially cause some hail over here for Iowa, Missouri, and Nebraska, and Canada. And Kansas. All right, now looking at the temperature map, you can see that warm air is starting to advect up to the north through Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Moving this forward, you can see we have a big warm up here for the southern plains reaching into the 70s, maybe even into the 80s, mid 80s, and some pockets might even get up to as high as 90 degrees. Moving this forward, you can see that heat starts to move off to the east with the cold air still hanging around in the north and the west. I know you guys over here are getting annoyed with this colder air, but unfortunately it's going to stick around for a little bit longer. Moving this forward, you can really see that front start to form right there across Texas and Oklahoma, and it really starts to get warmer over here in the east. Pushing this all the way through, it does seem like that warmth is going to stick around at least until the 24th by 7 p.m. Next, we're going to look at the estimated precipitation type. There is also going to be some flooding with these storms. So next, we're going to look at the future radar and determine what exactly we can expect in terms of rainfall amounts. Moving this forward, you can see that rain really starts to happen here at around 6 a.m. on the 23rd, right around the Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri area, continues pretty much all the way into the next day, and then picks up even stronger here at around the 24th at 2 a.m. Pushing this all the way through, you can see that sticks around until about 10 a.m. and starts to move out of the Missouri area and starts to meander a little bit more to the east. And then finishing this out, you can see we get another surge of moisture going into the 24th by the evening hours at 7 p.m. Coming over to the total precipitation map and zooming in, you can see that northern Arkansas and southern Missouri is going to be the hot spot here for the biggest rainfall amounts, with some isolated spots expecting up to 9 to 10 inches of rain. As you go north of Springfield, we'll have a little slot here of 6 to 7 inches of rain that goes all the way into St. Louis, and then also southern Indiana, southern Illinois is going to be seeing 4 to 5 inches along this strip, and this continues even all the way into Ohio with 4 to 3 inches there, and then it continues all the way into West Virginia with 3 to 4 inches. This could cause some flooding, so make sure you have a plan in place to deal with these storms as they come through, and seek higher ground if you're in a flood warning. So next, we're going to be looking at the simulated radar here and kind of see what time these storms can fire in the southern plains and the southeast. We are expecting some severe weather out of these events, so this is going to be important, and we're also going to dive into a little bit of the kinematics behind these storms. Moving this forward through the 22nd, going into the evening hours, not much happens, but if you notice up here near Iowa and Missouri, we are starting to see, unfortunately, in the early morning hours, a little line of storms here that could potentially drop some hail and maybe even some damaging winds out of this. Coming back down to the south and moving the model forward again, you can see we start to get some convection in Oklahoma at around 8 p.m. on the 23rd. This is mainly going to be just rain showers with the potential for a couple of severe storms up here in the northern parts of Oklahoma and southern parts of Missouri. Continuing to move this forward, you can see that cold front starts to move in on the backside here, and right around in this area, we're expecting some bigger hail. And then this moves off to the east, and we start to see, unfortunately, a couple of prefrontal cells here ahead of the cold front, and this, unfortunately, could cause a pretty big problem. I can hear you saying it right now in your head. Pretty big problem, but like what exactly? So let's go over it. So first, we're going to look at the shear environment, which is going to provide that rotation for these storms. Moving this model forward, you can see that that shear kind of continues there. While those storms fire up here, you can see that there is some shear there, but unfortunately for these storms, the cap is going to stay in place. So everybody that lives in these areas should expect a minimal tornado threat. Moving this forward, as these storms start to fire here in Oklahoma and Texas, you can see that there is some upper level shear there. Let's go down to the lower level shear really quick. But yeah, there's just not a lot of lower level shear with these storms. Although, if you come over to the surface-based cape, you can see that there is a decent amount of surface-based cape available for these storms. So I am expecting some large hail with these storms, a minimal tornado threat with the potential for damaging winds. Going into the beginning on Friday here, when these storms start to fire, you can see that there's a decent amount of upper level wind shear still. Going over to the lower level shear, you can see that there's a decent amount of lower level shear as well. It's not maxed out, but it's definitely enough to promote spinning supercells, especially in the warm front of this storm. Coming over to the surface-based cape, you can see that there's plenty of moisture, buoyancy, and instability in front of these storms to allow these storms to build up in strength and cause some damaging winds, hail, and a tornado threat. So I really do think these storms coming through on Friday are going to cause a problem. It's probably going to be the most significant severe threat, at least that we're going to see this week. All that's fine and dandy, but what about the risks for these days? Well, here we got the severe weather outlooks here, and today we have a marginal risk. There's no tornado risk for today, no wind risk for today. And also, there's a 5% risk for quarter-sized hail over here in Missouri, parts of Iowa, parts of Illinois, and parts of Indiana. So make sure you are weather aware today in the morning hour. You will probably be asleep when these storms come through, but if they wake you up, just know that the biggest threat is going to be that hail. Now we're going to look at tomorrow's threat, and as you can see, we have a decently sized slight risk here going from Texas into central and eastern Oklahoma, and a marginal risk around that. Going over to the tornado risk, we just have a 2% tornado risk here, and that's going to be for Wichita Falls, Vernon, Norman, and just to the east of Oklahoma City there, kind of along this I-40 corridor. Going over to the wind risk, we're seeing a 5% for damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour for San Angelo, Brownwood, Fredericksburg, Kerrville, Abilene, Texas, McKinney, Wichita Falls, Vernon there in Texas, and then Oklahoma City and Tulsa in Oklahoma. Looking at the hail risk, we do have a hashed risk for hail here, so let's go down and look at that. That's Vernon, Wichita Falls, and Texas. Norman and Oklahoma can expect a 15% chance for hail larger than 2 inches, so keep that in mind as these storms come through that day. Coming down here, we have San Angelo, Abilene, Brownwood, McKinney, and Tulsa in Oklahoma City with a 15% chance for quarter-sized hail. And then zooming out, we have a 5% chance for quarter-sized hail for parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and Illinois. Now going over to day 3, we just have a categorical risk. We don't have the tornado, wind, or hail risk yet. Also keep in mind this is 3 days out, so the positions of these risks can change. But for right now, we have an enhanced risk for parts of Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi, a slight risk for parts of Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, Nashville, Kentucky, and Illinois, and then a marginal risk around that for parts of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, and Arkansas. So keep that in mind as we move in. Tomorrow, I will release another video on this risk as we get more data coming in. But yeah, that's it for me. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.